If an injury has to be done to a man, it should be so severe that his vengeance need not be feared. There is no other way to guard yourself against flattery than by making men understand that telling you the truth will not offend you. Never was anything great achieved without danger. It is much safer to be feared than loved, because love is preserved by the link of obligation which, owing to the baseness of men, is broken at every opportunity for their advantage. But fear preserves you by a dread of punishment, which never fails. People should either be caressed or crushed. If you do them minor damage, they will get their revenge. But if you cripple them, there is nothing they can do. If you need to injure someone, do it in such a way that you do not have to fear their vengeance. I'm not interested in preserving the status quo. I want to overthrow it. All courses of action are risky, so prudence is not in avoiding danger, it's impossible, but calculating risk and acting decisively. Make mistakes of ambition and not mistakes of sloth. Develop the strength to do bold things, not the strength to suffer. How we live is so different from how we ought to live that he who studies what ought to be done rather than what is done will learn the way to his downfall rather than to his preservation. Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great. He who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. Men in general judge more by the sense of sight than by the sense of touch, because everyone can see but few can test by feeling. Everyone sees what you seem to be, few know what you really are, and those few do not dare take a stand against the general opinion. Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved. A man who is used to acting in one way never changes. He must come to ruin when the times, in changing, no longer are in harmony with his ways. A prudent man should always follow in the path trodden by great men and imitate those who are most excellent, so that if he does not attain to their greatness, at any rate he will get some tinge of it. Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times. It must be considered that there is nothing more difficult to carry out, nor more doubtful of success, nor more dangerous to handle, than to initiate a new order of things. Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration. Therefore, it is necessary to be a fox to discover the snares and a lion to terrify the wolves. I hold strongly to this, that it is better to be impetuous than circumspect, because fortune is a woman, and if she is to be submissive, it is necessary to beat and coerce her. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. For one change always leaves a dovetail, into which another will fit. And it ought to be remembered that there is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. Is it better to be loved or feared? The promise given was necessity of the past. The word borken is a necessity of the present. A prince is also esteemed when he is a true friend and a true enemy. And truly, it is a very natural and ordinary thing to desire to acquire, and always, when men do it who can, they will be praised or not blamed, but when they cannot, and wish to do it anyway, here lies the error and the blame. He who causes another to become powerful ruins himself, for he brings such a power into being either by design or by force, and both of these elements are suspects to the one whom he has made powerful. One who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. Master the rules of the game until you can play it better they can. Make mistakes of ambition and not mistakes of sloth. Develop the strength to do bold things, not the strength to suffer. Quod principi plevit habet legis vigorem. If you have to injure someone, then make it so severe that his vengeance need not be feared. Without an opportunity, their abilities would have been wasted, and without their abilities, the opportunity would have arisen in vain. It is of the greatest importance in this world that a man should know himself, and the measure of his own strength and means, and he who knows that he has not a genius for fighting must learn how to govern by the arts of peace. Any injury we do to a man must be such that we need not fear his vengeance. For, although one may be very strong in armed forces, yet in entering a province, one has always need of the goodwill of the natives. These opportunities, then, gave these men the chance they needed, and their great abilities made them recognize it. An unavoidable war is called justice. When brutality is the only option left, it is holy. One must be a fox in order to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten off wolves. Those who believe that where great personages are concerned new favors cause old injuries to be forgotten, deceive themselves. And although one should not reason about Moses, as he was a mere executor of things that had been ordered for him by God, nonetheless he should be admired if only for that grace which made him deserving of speaking with God. Instead of praying for some new holy man to save you, learn the way to hell in order to steer clear of it yourself. Puini vidi cum suntum, ni tiara dever, dar toi vidi si ni prefacem, si suntum. Ognuno vid quello che to pari, pochi sentono quello che to say. Florence, which included diplomatic missions to various European courts. At Florence, which included diplomatic missions to various European courts, imprisoned Discontented inhabitants who willingly admit a foreign power either through excessive ambition or through fear, as was the case with the Aetolians who admitted the Romans into Greece. So it was with every province that the Romans entered. They were brought in by the inhabitants themselves. There is in everything a latent evil peculiar to it. And the first cause of your losing it is to neglect this art, and what enables you to acquire a state is to be master of the art. The dictatorship did not elate me, nor did exile depress me. How we live is so different than how we ought to live that he who studies what ought to be done rather than what is done will learn the way to his downfall rather than to his preservation. The Prince. You can't have good laws if you don't have good armed forces. It is not reasonable that he who is armed should yield obedience willingly to him who is unarmed. He had all the attributes of a king except a kingdom. It often enables men to rise from a private station to that rank. De modo geral os homines julga mais, com os olhos do que como todos podem vir mas poucos so capazes de sentir, todos vim nossa a par enchia, poucos sentem o que realmente somos.